If you work in tech, you've seen the hype. You've definitely felt the pressure. There's this new revolution in software development that's promising just, unbelievable speed. But underneath all that excitement, a crisis is brewing. So let's get into it. Let's break down what's really going on here.
And that right there, that's a direct quote from an engineer who's watching all this unfold. And you can feel the tension, right? Because it feels like while we're all chasing this incredible speed, we might just be sprinting headfirst into a total disaster. So what is this revolutionary idea causing all this chaos? Well, it's got a new name, and I bet you've seen it popping up all over your feeds. It's called vibe coding. And listen, the promise is that it's going to change everything about how we build software. So let's dig in and see what that actually means. Okay, the concept here is, well, it's incredibly seductive. I mean, think about it. You don't really write code anymore. You just talk. You just describe what you want and poof, an AI agent builds it for you. It's the ultimate promise, right? Total accessibility, insane speed. And this is the dream that, let's be honest, the big AI companies and a ton of startups are selling us hard. Just picture it. Your product managers, your marketing team, pretty much anyone being able to spin up a fully functional app like over a lunch break. The potential for innovation feels absolutely limitless. But this is exactly where the dream starts to turn into a bit of a nightmare.
See, here's the problem. While vibe coding is amazing at building the look of an application, that superficial shell, it has none of the engineering rigor we need for, our critical digital infrastructure. And that gap, well, it creates some pretty terrifying new dangers.
So the crucial point is this. We are literally trading decades of disciplined, hard-won best practices in security and reliability for what? For a system that basically guesses what the next line of code should be. And this is creating a massive crisis in enterprise security and piling up, mountains of technical debt. Let's break down the threats one by one, starting with the AI systems themselves. Okay, first we have to get one thing straight. We are not just talking about chatbots anymore, not even close. We're deploying what are called agentic systems. These are AIs that can actually take independent action on a computer. We're talking sending files, running programs, making connections to the outside world, all without a human directly telling them to do it. And this leads to what some security experts are calling the lethal trifecta of risks. It's a perfect storm. First, these AI agents have persistent, privileged access, often root level. We're talking keys to the kingdom. Second, they're constantly reading untrusted data, stuff coming in from emails, from Slack. And third, they can talk to the outside world, completely unrestricted. Now, put that all together, an attacker just has to send one cleverly worded email, and that agent might just leak all your company's secrets, and no one would even know it happened. All right, threat number 2 is something called slopsquatting. You might also hear it called AI package hallucination. And this is a brand new and frankly a really insidious attack vector that exploits the way these AIs actually work. So here's how this attack plays out step by step. First, the AI, just trying to be helpful, right? It just makes up, it hallucinates the name of a software package, something that sounds plausible, but it doesn't actually exist. Then the bad guys who are actively monitoring for these hallucinations, they swoop in, register that fake package name, and stuff it full of malware. And finally, the vibed coder's AI blindly tells the system to install that malicious package, and bam, just like that, you've handed root access to your system over to criminals. And finally, let's talk about the threat to our internal quality. See, a huge promise of vibe coding is that the AI won't just write the code, it'll write the tests for you too. But the reality, well, the reality is much darker, and it leads to this fantastic concept called cardboard muffins. Okay, so let's break this down. A real unit test, one written by a human engineer, is designed to actually verify the business logic. It checks for all the weird edge cases. It ensures reliability. But a cardboard muffin test, it does none of that. The AI just looks at the code, figures out the exact return value it needs to get a passing grade, and then it just hard codes that value. It is exactly like a baker making a muffin out of cardboard. It looks like a muffin, but it's totally hollow and useless. Its only goal is to get that little green check mark in the CI/CD pipeline.
And this is where it all comes together, right? When your code is built on top of hallucinated, malicious packages, and it's being validated by completely fake tests, you haven't built software. You've built a house of cards, a fragile, rickety thing that's just waiting for the slightest breeze to come along and knock it all down.
So what's the answer? What do we do? We can't just ban this stuff, right? The potential for innovation is just way too high. The solution is to get smarter about how we use it. And this brings us to what's called a dual-track strategy. It's a way to innovate safely and build a much more sustainable path forward.
The whole idea is pretty simple, actually. You create two totally separate lanes for development. Think of it like a fast track and a slow track. The fast track is all about unconstrained discovery. Speed is the only thing that matters. The slow track, that's the domain of real software engineering. Rigor is what matters there. The key is you need both, but you have to keep them completely, totally separate.
So let's talk about track 1, the fast track. Here, vibe coding is not just allowed, it is actively encouraged. Go nuts. The goal is for your product managers, your designers, whoever, to validate business ideas as cheaply and quickly as humanly or AI-ly possible. But, and you knew there was a but, right? This is the massive catch. It all has to happen in a heavily sandboxed environment. These products are treated as completely disposable blueprints, and they never, ever, ever touch production data or customer PII. Their only job is to prove an idea. That's it.
Okay, so once an idea from the fast track proves it has potential, it gets to move over to track 2, the slow track. And the rule here is simple, but it is absolutely non-negotiable. You start over, from scratch. You rewrite the entire thing from the ground up. Human engineers are in charge now. That vibe-coded prototype, it's just a visual reference, nothing more. On this track, the AI gets demoted. It's not the creator anymore. It's just a restricted assistant, because here the priorities are security, scalability, and deterministic human-vetted code. This is where real software gets built.
Now, putting this dual-track strategy into place, this is not just a technical change. It's a huge cultural shift for a company. It forces a really important and sometimes difficult conversation about speed versus sanity. And that's especially true when you have to manage expectations from the top.
Because for this entire strategy to actually work, for it to protect your business instead of just creating a bunch of new processes and friction, there is one single non-negotiable directive. And it's really for leadership.
And here it is. This is the golden rule. You never base the timeline of the slow track on the velocity of the fast track. Let me say that again. Never base the timeline of the slow track on the velocity of the fast track. Just because your PM was able to build a prototype in a weekend does not mean the production-ready version is going to be done in a week. It won't. And enforcing this boundary, that is the difference between a business that benefits from AI and one that becomes its next victim.
So here's the bottom line. AI is an absolutely incredible force multiplier for innovation. We should be embracing it. But, and it's a huge but, it is not a substitute for architectural foresight. It can't replace the careful, rigorous, deterministic work of real software engineering, the kind of work that actually keeps our digital world safe and, functional.
And that really just leaves us with one final question to think about. As your team rushes to adopt all this new AI tooling, you have to take a hard look at your own development culture and ask a simple question. Is your team building for speed, or are you building for survival?